Okay, last time we worked on solving for angles that were missing in a right triangle. This time we're going to solve for missing sides. So I'm going to set up a sample triangle here where I know an angle and I know one side, and I'm going to try to find another missing side. Okay, let's say this angle right here is 18 degrees. All right, the first thing I need to do is figure out which function am I going to use to try to solve this. Well, if I look at my triangle right here, the side down here, this is the opposite side, this is the hypotenuse, this is the adjacent side. So the sides that I'm working with here are the adjacent side and the hypotenuse, and the trig function that works with the adjacent side and the hypotenuse is cosine. All right, now I'm going to set up my trig ratio. So in this case, the setup is cosine. Now for the first time here, we can actually put a degree in because we know how big that angle is. So cosine of 18 is going to equal 17 over x. All right, an angle always goes with sine, cosine, or tangent. In this case, we know what the angle is. All right, now that looks complicated. What's going to make it easier is when I plug this all in my calculator. So I'm going to open my calculator, and I'm going to put it in. Okay, so here's my calculator. I just need to know what cosine of 18 is. On this calculator, to put that in, I'm going to put 18 and then hit the cosine button. Now you'll see there, it gives me a number, right? 0.91056 ... right? It goes on forever and ever. I'm going to write that down for a second. But I'm going to leave this on my calculator because what you're going to see here in a second is you can just do the rest of the problem on your calculator. But I'm going to show you the way that it needs to go. So this is like 0.9511. I'll just round it off to there for right now. That's equal to 17 over x. All right, well, to get x by itself here, what's probably going to be helpful is to think of this 0.9511 as over 1. And then I can cross multiply. And what I get is 0.9511 times x equals 17 times 1, which is 17. And then I need to divide both sides by this 0.9511. So x is going to equal 17 divided by 0.9511. All right, now, that's difficult to do on your calculator, leaving it in if you don't know the trick I'm about to show you. All right, so notice I have this in my calculator. I want to do 17 divided by this number. But I can't put that in there without like writing down what this is and then typing that all in, and I don't want to do that. So here's a thing that you can do in this on your calculator. Over here is this button, it's a 1 over x, and pretty much every calculator has that. So what I can do is instead of doing 17 divided by this number, I'm going to do this number divided by 17. Now, since that's the opposite of the way that I wanted to do it, to flip that over, I can do this 1 over x, and I get 17.87. So I'm going to go to the nearest tenth and call that 17.9. Now, one thing you always want to do here is make sure that that seems reasonable. And in this case, I'm getting 17.9. That's bigger than 17, which is good because I want my hypotenuse to be bigger than the adjacent side, right? This all sort of makes sense. If I had left it, if I divided the wrong way, notice what I have gotten for my x is 0.0559, which is certainly not a reasonable amount for this. All right, if you don't like the 1 over x thing, then just write this down and put it in your calculator. 17 divided by 0.9511, right? And notice we get 17.9 still. Okay? All right, that's just one calculator shortcut you can do to help when you're, so you don't have to write that all down. Okay, let's do another one. Let's try to find another problem here. Okay, let's do this one. Okay. All right, in this problem, x is my opposite side, my hypotenuse is up here, and 15 is my adjacent side. So in this case, I'm going to work with the opposite and adjacent sides. The function that does that is tangent. So setting up my trig function, trig ratio here, tan of 72 equals x over 15. All right, in this case, what's really nice is that to get the x by itself, all I have to do is multiply both sides by 15. So 15 times tan 72 is equal to x. Okay, putting that into my calculator. To put that in my calculator, I want to figure out what tan 72 is first and then multiply it by 15. So tan 72 is that, and then I'm going to multiply that by 15. And notice I get 46.2. Okay, so now down here, that's, 46.2. All right, now let's look at that and see if that's reasonable. All right, now at first, when it looks like this in this triangle that those two sides are pretty similar in size, but actually this 46.2 makes sense because this is 72 degrees, which means I should have drawn this other side a lot longer. The 46.2 is definitely reasonable. All right, that's if I'm rounding to the nearest 10. Okay, hopefully, if you're running into trouble here, it's in one of two things. Either you're using the wrong trig function, you're having trouble figuring out which trig function to use, or it's in going from, once you have this thing set up, to solving it down for what x equals. Those are just algebra issues that we can work with and you'll get better with practice. All right, but first mark this thing up so that you can figure out which function you're supposed to use, then set this up, then get x by itself. And then always remember at the end, check this number to make sure that it's a reasonable number. If I'd have gotten something like 0.002 here, right, then I'd know that I had done something wrong. Okay, I think that's it for today. Your assignment's going to be a bunch of problems where you're practicing finding a missing side. And I've provided an answer key for you. And we can go over any questions next week.